How much crime can one person get away with? If I were to tell you that a white guy, and I know people talk about white privilege, but bear with me. A white guy could make fun of black people, use the N-word, my nigga this, my nigga that, all this kind of stuff. Make jokes to other white people. Hey, you know, what up, a nigga? Don't be charging me those Hennessy rates. Most black people would say, that's dicey. That's dicey. But maybe he's quoting a movie, or maybe he's quoting a song. Depending on who it is, pretty sure we would say that that's racist. How about if he's buying prostitutes? The same white guy, he's buying prostitutes now. And he refers to Asian women as yellows. Little bit harder to convince me that that's not racist. He's just saying yellows because, I don't know, that's his favorite color. Daisies. When you say stuff like that, and you do it now across multiple races, it's not just one, it starts making the first example a little bit more dicey. So why does somebody get away with that? Now let's add to that. Because remember what I said about the Asian woman. He was buying an Asian woman. So either for prostitution or God knows what, I can't say. It wasn't very clear. Let's add to that I'm a crackhead. An admitted crackhead who smoked other things just in case they may have been crack.
On my hands and knees, picking through rugs, smoking anything that even remotely resembled crack cocaine.
So now you say, okay, this guy's got a problem. Let's add alcohol.
I went one time for 13 days without sleeping and smoking crack and drinking vodka exclusively throughout that entire time.
And now you gotta wonder what's going on here. Why is this person free? What if I told you this same person had a gun, and when they purchased the gun, lied and said they weren't a felon? Breaking gun laws, we know that's a big deal on the left. And then, after all this, you get a job. This person, the same person, gets a job making six figures and getting $1 and $2 million bonuses, randomly, of course, to work for an energy company and you have no experience. You're a convicted felon, drug addict, prostitution purchaser, John, if you will. Trick, it's another term. Junkie, it's another term. Anyway, sorry. So you're making all this money, millions of dollars, and on the salary payroll making the six figures. Okay, so now we got to figure out, okay, how does that work? How did he get a job doing all these things, and then afterwards still getting signed on? Oh, gotta mention that company is in Ukraine. Yes, that Ukraine. Okay, well, I mean, people come up. All right. Mind you, this is all in 2019, 2020. Actually, from 2016. Actually, no, it's before 2016. This would have been before the presidential election of 2016. Because this person was using his father's name, and his father was the vice president of the United States. So we're talking 2014 and on, at least. At least. So this crackhead, John, making all this money for a company that he's not qualified for. Nobody is. Not a convicted felon, that's for sure. He's making this money, and he's using his father's name because his father is the vice president of the United States. His father goes on TV, and he's getting interviewed by somebody. And he admits to getting somebody fired who was looking into the company that his son was randomly chosen to be on the board with.
I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
I'm not making this up. His father jokes about getting the aggressive prosecutor who's looking into this crooked company in Ukraine. We're talking about Hunter Biden here. So Hunter Biden worked in a corrupt company in the country of Ukraine. Trump calls this company, or calls the country up. He calls a guy named Zelensky, Vladimir Zelensky. We don't know who this guy is. He could be anybody. Trump calls him and says, hey, I need you to look into this this firing of this prosecutor. It seems kind of weird to me. This becomes international news. Oh, Trump's calling this guy, I don't know, what's his name? Vladimir Zelensky. And he's calling this guy and he's asking him to look into Hunter Biden's affairs, the convicted felon, crackhead, whoremongering son who's now on an energy company's board. Why is he asking him that? Seems pretty obvious, but okay. So what does Trump do? He says, you know what? I'm not sure we should be funding a country that's allowing stuff like this, allowing convicted felon, drug addict, sex addict people to run energy companies that they're not qualified for and shouldn't even be let in the building. Maybe we shouldn't fund them. Boom, scandal.
There was pressure put on with respect to Joe Biden. What Joe Biden did for his son, that's something they should be looking at. They have no idea how they stop me. The only way they can try is through impeachment.
Mr. Trump has been shifting his rationale for holding up the Ukraine money, at first claiming he didn't want the funds to fuel corruption.
We're giving a lot of money away to Ukraine and other places. You want to see a country that's going to be not corrupt.
Hoping to tamp down on the controversy, the president tweeted he is authorizing the release of the complete, fully declassified and unredacted transcript of my phone conversation with President Zelensky of Ukraine. The president ordered administration officials to hold up hundreds of millions of dollars in military aid to Ukraine back in July, just 1 week before he asked Ukraine's president to investigate Biden's son Hunter's business dealings, despite zero evidence of wrongdoing.
We got him. We got him. He's trying to stop crime from happening. So that phone call becomes a big deal. And this Vladimir Zelensky guy says, yeah, I don't know. I'll look into it. Never looks into it. 1 second. Why didn't he look into it? Why didn't this guy look into it? Maybe he knows there's some stuff going on, and maybe he's got an agreement with the father, not Hunter Biden, but Joe Biden. Fast forward. FFWD. Zelensky has an issue with Vladimir Putin in Russia. Of course, Putin waited until Joe Biden was in office, and he attacks.
The months-long build-up of Russian troops on the border with Ukraine has turned now into an invasion. Ukraine under attack. Military bases, airports and aircraft have been targeted and bombed. The skies over multiple cities, including the capital Kiev, lit up, waking up residents in the early hours of Thursday as Russian artillery advanced.
And he enters the country of Ukraine. Now, Joe Biden was done a solid by this Vladimir Zelensky guy. Who is he? He's the president of Ukraine. Huh. Well, that's fine. Whatever. It is what it is, right? He did Joe Biden a solid. He didn't look into his son. He allowed him to get elected. So now that Putin has crossed the borders of Ukraine, what does he do? Hey, Joe. I didn't look into that company, and I didn't look into your son. I kind of need a favor back. Joe, okay, well, what do you need? We are now in the corruption stage of this whole scenario that I just gave, because it's a very true scenario. Hey, I think I need you guys to fund my war. If not, maybe I will look into what your son was doing in my country, making millions of dollars doing absolutely nothing. And I think that would compromise your presidency. This is the only thing that I can think of that would justify us. We're now up to $47 billion. Sending to this country that has nothing to do with us. They're a very rich country when it comes to minerals and natural resources, but that has nothing to do with us. So when Putin crossed that border, they're not a NATO ally. They're not. We have nothing to do with Ukraine. Everybody keeps asking, why are we sending money over there? It makes perfect sense if your president is compromised. If his son is doing all these illegal things and he still found a way to be on the board of directors of a company, an energy company, has no schooling, he has no experience, but he's on the board. It's a coincidence. No, we don't do coincidences over here. Why was he on the board? What was the trade-off? Why is he making so much money to do nothing? Who's getting really paid off here? Why is the President of the United States not explaining why we're in Ukraine other than saying that they're our allies when they're not. I mean, they're an ally, but they're not part of the NATO. So we have no obligation to do what we're doing. That $47 billion put into inner cities in this country could literally change the population, especially of black people and Hispanic people, minorities. The impact they can have is generational. And I've already told you how I could have spent that money. But let's apply it to liberal causes. You think that that kind of money could not impact, say, the argument of gun control? You don't think that money could have secured every school in this country and eliminated that concern altogether? Shut down school shootings, or at least reduce them dramatically? $47 billion? You can't put secure doors on every classroom? No, you can't unlock only from the inside. You can't do that on every door in every school in this country. You can't put bulletproof windows. You can't pay for security and single point of entry. You can't pay off-duty police officers to do that? Pretty sure you could. What about retired police officers? $47 billion, but no, we're trying to stop from going to prison because our son was corrupt. And we're compromised as the president of the United States. That's the only thing that makes sense. That's the only reason why we're so dedicated to helping a country that impacts ours in absolutely no way. I know people from Ukraine. Or I know a person from Ukraine. Great person. I'm sure that there's millions of great people in Ukraine, but that has nothing to do with us funding a war. Especially when that same guy Zelensky is very confident. He's been on all these TV shows and he's doing interviews, and he said that he is uncompromising with Vladimir Putin. Where does he get that confidence from? Maybe because he knows Biden has to fund his war. He has no choice. It's either that or let the world find out and be the most disgraced president in the history of the world, or in the history of this country, when they find out you were compromised and your cover-up is to not start a war, but to fully fund a war that we are not supposed to be involved in. Conspiracy theory? Nah. You want to know how I know it's not a conspiracy theory? Because we're going through it. Hunter Biden now is an artist. He does artwork. He puts paint in straws and he blows artwork.
These paintings by President Biden's son, Hunter, are sparking ethics concerns for the White House. Hunter's artwork is set to be displayed and sold this fall at private and invite-only showings in Los Angeles and New York City, priced between $75,000 to $500,000 per piece. Some ethics experts are crying foul.
It just is implausible that this art from an unknown artist would be selling at this price if it didn't have the Biden name attached to it.
Can anybody look into this for me? Be greatly appreciated.